What's up, Shoreline Church? How y'all doing? Awesome, awesome. Who hates their marriage? Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong question. I saw like a husband about to put his hand up. I was like, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. If you're gonna achieve another goal tonight, right? So we are excited. Irene is not with me. She is sick. We were supposed to be in Dallas yesterday and today, and so she sends her love. But, I carry the weight in this thing anyway, so let's just go ahead, and I'm so excited. Can y'all just give it up for your amazing pastors? Rob and Laura, just absolutely amazing. Thank you for your sacrifice, your vision, all that you do, all that you pour into us as a church, and we're just grateful. And I absolutely love that I get to talk about marriage. Honestly, this is my favorite topic. And if you are or need help or need tools, I do too. We're in this together. So I'm going to share tonight pretty much out of some stuff that Irene, some drama we've gone through. So I'm going to share mostly out of our pain, mostly out of where we messed up. And I've been married for 23 years. Come on, somebody. And it's been about the best 8 years ever, guys. And Irene needs a lot of help and a lot of prayer. I told her she's not here, so I'm gonna talk about her a whole lot tonight. I'm joking, she's watching probably online. And so I'm gonna be good because I've been gone for a week and we got some things to talk about when I get home. But I'm excited because we get to talk about something that honestly, all of us who are married, how many in here are not married? Raise your hand if you are not married. Okay, so stand up and twirl and we'll do our version of churchmatch.com, But here's the deal, I think it's important for us to understand the power of a healthy marriage. I think it's important for us to understand why we continually need to work on our marriages. I posted something a few weeks ago, and I said, you're not allowed to complain about the marriage you refuse to work on. You're not allowed to complain about it. You're not allowed to complain about the marriage that you refuse to use old school tools on, right? And some of the wives are like, yeah, my husband needs an upgrade, right? And the husband says, well, my wife needs to give me some. And we just keep going back and forth. And we're gonna have fun, so relax. Everybody relax. If you're not laughing, you're weird, And so we're gonna have a good time tonight. And it's important because a lot of people, they don't have bad marriages, they just suck at having fun. What happened to the fun? What happened to the laughter? What happened to the whatever that you had in the beginning? And so we're gonna unpack some things. Before I jump in, I just wanna tell you a little bit about Irene and I's love story. Just a little bit about how she fell in love with all of this, y'all. And so Irene, I was a technical recruiter. I was a headhunter. I found jobs for computer consultants, and I got pretty good at the job in Maryland, over 23 years ago. And I was very successful. I wasn't in full-time ministry. My parents were leading a church, and I was a PK, so I was real bad. Come on, somebody. And I was working on my testimony, And as my boss, who owned this company, he said, hey, we're gonna be interviewing this girl, and he began to say she's hot and she's gonna get us a lot of sales. And before I even saw it, I was like, let me interview her. Now, I was not the manager, but I think God had a plan. If not, I did. Come on. And so Irene comes in and she's gonna interview, and they let me interview her, and I'm interviewing her, and honestly, I'm just captured not by her personality, but her legs. I'm just telling you, I'm a man, and so we interviewed her, and I was literally this girl is hot, and we walked out of the interview, and I said, I'm gonna marry that girl. And 2 weeks later, I asked her out on a date, and we went out on this date, and we went to the Inner Harbor in Baltimore, Maryland, and we were going to the aquarium. I I was broke. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And so we went to the aquarium and we went out to dinner. We went to a restaurant called Phillips, this seafood place. Back in the day, like Phillips was the thing. Like if you were doing it, you went to Phillips. And so we go to Phillips and I reach across and I'm sick. I have a sinus infection at the time and I wasn't even thinking. We were talking and her hand I reached over and touched her hand. I don't think she noticed. And I'm like, I wonder if she noticed. She didn't pull back, but she's really not acknowledging the fact that I ordered her food and we went out, and then we were walking out after the restaurant and we were walking in Baltimore and I didn't see a car coming and she saved my life, y'all. Literally pulled me back from being hit by a car on our first friend date. And that night we went to her apartment and sparks were flying and I kissed her on the forehead, just a little cute thing, you know what I'm saying? I had another plan, but a little cute thing. And when I kissed her on her head and we were sitting on the couch talking, it was like 1 o'clock, and she reached over and she tapped me and she says, "Who are you? Like, I love everything that's different about you." That's what she said. And what she did not know is I was a traveling like youth evangelist at the time. Like I wasn't in full-time ministry, but I would travel and preach at youth events. And I preached this one youth event in Lakeland, Florida. And I walked off the stage and a lady pulled me to the side and she said, "Son, I don't know you, but God gave me a word for you during your message." And normally I'm like, "You're weird, like don't talk to me." But she said to me, she had this word. So she says what? She says, "Stop looking for your wife. God's gonna send her and she's gonna love everything that's different about you." And I got the chills just like you just did. And the crazy thing is it was like confirmation when Irene poked me and said that. And the next day, Irene came to my parents' church and answered the altar call. And she had given her life to Jesus a long time ago, but wasn't really living and walking out the faith. And it was like sparks were flying. And y'all, listen, we went out on a date October 28th, 1998. Come on, somebody. And I remember the date. That's what y'all need to clap for. Like, wow, it's written down in my notes. And we went out on this date, and October 28th, at Christmas Eve, we got engaged. Because she loved everything that's different about me. In June, we got married. It was quick, y'all. She couldn't keep her hands off me. Better to marry than to burn. Y'all know what I'm saying? I get it. I understand her struggle, though. I mean, and how many of y'all know, like in the beginning, you love everything opposites attract. You love everything that's different about your spouse because this compatibility thing works through opposites, and opposites attract, and you start, man, she's hot and you're dating each other, but the lust wears off and the calves, wears off and the butt drops. And the six-pack turns into a keg. Come on, somebody. And you just can't really control these differences and manage them. And now it's time to eat, and you ask your spouse, if you're like me, where you want to eat. Now, I already have a plan, but I'm just supposed to because that's what I learned. And she says, "I don't care." And then I pick the restaurant and she says, "No, not that." I pick another one. She says, "No," 10 times. I don't even know why I'm even in this marriage. Because we used to be able to agree on everything. Now we don't agree on much. And statistics say that 67% of the things you disagree with in your marriage are not resolvable. 67. Come on, y'all. For me, it's like 97 in our marriage. And if you're honest, how do we work out these differences? Are you sure you love my differences? Well, they get on your nerves now. But you said God said at the altar, but are you sure? Because we don't really agree on much. And maybe that's where you are in your marriage if you're honest. It's hard to love differences. And what happens is with these differences, you begin to start like compare like who's right and who's wrong. And now you're Your spouse doesn't say much, but their face says everything. Does anyone ever cuss your spouse out with your face? Come on, somebody. You don't say words. You're just like, body language. Come on, y'all. My wife speaks body language. She speaks in body language. I speak in body language. Like, if my face does something, it sets her off. Right now, you trigger one another. That's a word we're going to talk about. Now you were at the altar. What happened? You got married. What happened? You spent all this money planning for a wedding, but how much planning did you do for a marriage? And you're like, man, and you prepared. Now, I don't know if you're like me, but I was nervous about the first dance. Come on, y'all. Everybody's gonna be watching us, spend all of this money, hope this works out, Like everyone, we're trying to pick the song. What's gonna be the song? And we, all my life, Casey and JoJo. Come on, where y'all at? I pray for someone like you, and I sure baggy pants, hope you do the same. All white outfit too. Right? And you're dancing. The crazy thing is the first dance. I turned my mic off. The first dance ain't the last dance. Because you start dancing through your differences. You start dancing with dysfunction. We begin to start mimicking our picture of marriage, what our parents did or didn't do. I don't know about you, but I had this thought that I'm never gonna be like my mom and dad's marriage. And you start building your marriage off of everything you don't wanna be, not everything God calls you to be. We call it family of origin issues. And we start dancing through who's right or who's wrong, dancing through, our sexual appetites and I'm once a month and you're twice a month. No, I'm once a day. Come on, somebody. I'll be traveling. Irene says, aren't you tired? I was like, girl, I still got a little bit of energy. I'm never too tired, ever. Ever. Did I say never? But isn't it crazy? It's not anymore like where we're going to eat. It's, you got teenagers. Come on, some of y'all you're like, yep, I just hit a sore spot. I felt the air leave the room right there. And who's right and who's raising them and how late can they stay out and who can they date? And you start doing this dance back and forth, dancing with dysfunction and dancing through difficulties and dancing with who's right and who's wrong and dancing. And now you got to figure out, how do we dance through these differences? And that's what I want to talk to you tonight from that topic. Dancing through the differences. How many of y'all would say me and my spouse are different? Come on, raise your hand. We're just different, all of us. If you're the same, God bless you, you should be teaching this. Man, we're different, y'all. We don't like the same food. We don't. She likes to sleep minus 5 degrees at night and then a whole lot of covers. I don't understand. Just turn the heat up, take more covers up. I'm sorry, I just got a little angry. Y'all hear that? She wants to go to the in-laws. I want to stay home. She wants to watch Hallmark. I want to watch SUV, Special Victims Unit. I need some killing in my movies. I need some cussing in my movies. Come on, I don't want to feel good during the movie. But I gotta watch it if I want to make a movie later. You know what I'm saying? Any of y'all with me? Raise your hand and say, I understand your struggle. Yeah. Why do I have to work for something that You should offer. One's a spender, one's not a spender. Right? Like, one's secure, one's insecure. One's family's jacked up. The other one's family is more jacked up. We're dancing through these differences. And what they're doing is they're wrecking our union. This dance, we can't find our rhythm. This dance, we are not in step with one another. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? This dance just triggers one another. This dance, and I don't know if I should text you, call you. It's a dance. Irene loses her phone while she's on it. Have you seen my phone? It's right there. It's right there. It's on your face. I don't know if I should be honest. Like, do I look good in this? I don't know what I should say. I don't want to lie. I'm a pastor. But I got a goal. Dancing. Many of us dance through our differences. We dance through our dysfunction. It's crazy to me that 100% of divorces is cited for irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences. But yet, the Bible says in Psalms 133, how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in unity. And I want unity and union in my marriage. But it doesn't say how good and pleasant it is when brethren dwell together in uniformity. Meaning my spouse is never gonna be like me. My spouse is never gonna want what I want. So how do we dominate these differences? You see how we came together all the way in the beginning through Adam and Eve. It says, and a man shall leave his mother and father and cleave to his wife, and the two shall become. How does two things have one good marriage? How do two different people dominate their differences where it's not uniformity, but it produces unity that produces an anointing that allows us to have legacy and generational blessings in our families? Well, the two has to become one. We first have to understand this thought that unity, the word unity exists because differences exist. If there was no such thing as differences, there would not be a word called unity. Differences actually are the equation for unity. Because the goal in your marriage is not to think alike. The goal is to think together. Come on, I have right here, clap loud right here, like. But why are marriages being cited for irreconcilable differences? Because we've adopted a mindset that my way is better. We've adopted the cultural definition of marriage. As long as we get along. No. Unity happens when you don't get along. The goal is not to fight. The goal is to find fruitfulness on the other side of the fight. Are y'all with me? I want to give you some teeth. And in Genesis 2:21, it talks about this. This one is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I'm picking it up at verse 22. And she be called woman, she shall be taken from the man. This explains why a man leaves his father and mother and is joined to his wife, and the two are united into one. Now the man and his wife were both naked and felt no shame. First of all, pause this message. When I get to heaven, me and Adam are gonna have a conversation. Me and Adam, y'all know Adam and Eve, right? Me and Adam, and here's my question to Adam. Pastor, I hope this is okay. Adam, I wanna know why you chose an apple over a naked wife. We're just gonna have that talk. I don't get it. I wanna understand. Come on, somebody, like an apple fruit? You chose an apple over your wife's apple bottom? Are y'all in yet? Are you in? Some of y'all like, I didn't want to come to church, my wife made me. Now you're having fun. The two shall become one. How do we become one? How do we become one with our different opinions on our sleep number? It's funny that a bed figures it out. That has no destiny. A bed. We're gonna create something where both are valued. And that's some of the issues in some of our marriages, especially with men. I'm gonna say it. My way or the highway. The highway. Your way didn't work for your dad, your way didn't work for your granddad, and your way ain't working for your marriage now. But we're not winning at work, so now we gotta win at home. Uh-oh. Like, I knew he was coming. I ain't scared of none of y'all. What do we do, man? I think this idea is first understanding that you are not fighting with your wife. You are not fighting with your husband. Ultimately, you are fighting an enemy who understands if unity comes together, we are going to be fruitful, multiply, subdue, and have dominion and legacy in this. I'm telling you, the enemy's greatest weapon is division. So if God in the beginning told us, Pastor, to be fruitful, multiply, and subdue, we can't do that alone. So what does he do? He understands that the kingdom of heaven wants to show up on earth. It's called the Lord's Prayer. And the way that God populates earth with heaven's atmosphere is through healthy marriages. Wow. So if I can distort what marriage is, if I can distort the possibility of having unity in the marriage, my ultimate goal is to divide mankind so that heaven doesn't populate earth through citizens and Christians and God-fearing people. So I'm gonna distort and divide marriages, and I don't have an irreconcilable difference from my spouse. I just don't understand the purpose and destiny of this marriage. And so now we've got fights, and I came to tell you that you're not fighting your spouse, you're fighting against the enemy. He's just using you to bring division. And so how do we do this, man? We're doing this dance, and number one, if you don't want to do the dance anymore, if you want to figure out how I dance through these different, you have to, number one, leverage your strengths and weaknesses. Leverage your strengths and weaknesses. And what I'm gonna ask you to do is outside of this night is to do this exercise where you sit down and have a conversation. And you're gonna sit down with your spouse and you're gonna tell your spouse, here are your strengths. And you're gonna take out your phone or a 3x5 card and you're gonna write down, agreed or disagreed. Are these my strengths? Am I good at this? And so Irene and I did this exercise, so I'm gonna tell you our strengths. She said that my strength is you're a visionary. I can see the end in the beginning. I can walk in a house that is torn down in ruins and see all of the renovations and what it's going to. I'm like a walking HGTV. Come on, somebody. I can see it. She says your strength is you're a relator. You can relate and adapt in any situation. This is what my wife says. It's not me. And she says, you have a sense of humor and you're incredibly good looking. No, she didn't say that. I just threw that in there just to see what y'all was saying. And I said, here's her strength. She's a developer. She's a coach. She can take someone, she can see the best in somebody when I want to cut them off. When I want to punch them in the face, come on, somebody. Irene's like, oh, but they have a call of God on their lives. I'm like, shut up, I hate them. She's a coach. She's an arranger. Irene has to have everything in order. We go on vacation and I get a schedule. I don't want a schedule. I want to wake up late, eat horrible, pass gas when I want, and play golf. That's it. I don't want a schedule. I don't want to schedule vacation. Like I'm tired just from your schedule. But then in our business, I love the fact that she's an arranger. You see, we laugh about our strengths. It's easy to agree on our strengths. So when you do this exercise, you're gonna tell your spouse what their strengths are. You're not gonna tell them what their weaknesses are. You're gonna admit your own. Uh-oh. Because some of y'all was getting armed right there. Y'all was like, oh, I get to tell him how bad his breath is. Oh my God. I get to tell her to shave them hairy legs. Come on, somebody. I get to tell her, please get a different pajama set. My wife been wearing the same t-shirt for 23 years. Can you upgrade that nightie? Amen. Come on, somebody. Husbands are like, please, please, please. So my weaknesses, procrastination, anger, trust issues, it's real. Her weaknesses, indecisive, 100%. Sensitive, 1,000%. Codependent, she has others' esteem. This is what she said. But do you see how my strengths are her weaknesses? Her strengths are my weaknesses. We don't have to do the dance. We could actually leverage our differences if we would just be willing to admit what we're not. Come on. The problem is, it's crazy to me that you see each other naked, but you can't get naked and say what I'm not. Honey, I'm not an arranger. I've got trust issues, but you see the best in everybody. It's crazy to me how if we can leverage our strengths and weaknesses, we could actually have some fun in our relationship. Can I tell you this? If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Awareness of your spouse's strengths does not mean the absence of your own. Awareness of your spouse's strength does not mean the absence of your own. When you start talking about how strong your wife is or how strong your husband is, it's not your opportunity now to say, but me too. Isn't it crazy how we act like we're 6 and 7 years old sometimes? In our marriages, and your kids who are sitting next to you says, thank you for saying it. In 2 Corinthians, I love this passage of scripture because it basically says that when I am weak, he is strong. When I admit what I'm not, it has the opportunity for Christ to step in my life and be all that he is. Can I tell you, it is not a coincidence that the church and the bride of Christ and your bride or your spouse is synonymous with one another? That means us as Christians, when I say, God, I need you, he begins to send me help in the form of my wife, in the form of your husband. God has never visibly revealed himself to me, but he spiritually revealed himself to me through Irene. And some of you have been waiting on an answer from God, and he's giving you the answer. You just don't want to listen to your wife. Come on, ladies, say a good amen. Like, yep, Joker always talking, always got something to say, know everything, get lost all the time. Come on, ladies. Like, guys, like this is what I love, because when we admit what we're not, we can actually be connected more. When we admit what we're not, we can actually have fun in our relationships. Let me tell y'all something. Outside of your house, you have to put on this facade and this culture that I've got it all together, that I'm smart, that I'm worth the job that I have. But when you get home, you should be able to be 100% vulnerable. To say, man, I'm not. Today was hard. I got this job and I'm not qualified for it, but God must see something in me that I don't see. But God is trying to encourage you through your spouse. The problem is you won't talk to them. So the enemy breaks down communication. Number two, how do we dance through these differences? Number one, we leverage our strengths and weaknesses. Number two, is anyone getting anything out of this? We become a safe place to share. Let me tell you something. I know they got this book like men's needs, his needs, her needs. I get that. I get we've got different needs. I get we've got differences. I get we've got different appetites. I get all that. You know one thing that we both want out of this marriage? Safety. Before I met Irene, I used to sell Brink's home security systems. Before I got this job as a technical recruiter. My job was to go to people's house and point out potential vulnerabilities, expose them, make them a little scared, and oversell them. Come on, somebody. And I got real good at it. And I would sit there and say, if someone were to break in, this is how they break in. And what I was doing was exposing fear. And then trying to put safety as a device, safety as a monitor, safety as a motion detector, safety as a potential glass break. And I would oversell, and people would spend all sorts of money trying to provide a safe place. Can I tell you, they didn't realize something? They didn't really need to spend $1. All they had to do was ask me for a sticker or a sign that says this house is protected by Brink's Home Security. I believe that your spouse is a sticker. I believe that your spouse is the safe place, that you don't have to go out and try to outwork yourself because you're insecure. Now you're never home. Because like me, when Irene and I's marriage got jacked up, when I wasn't winning at home, I was gonna win somewhere else. So I called it providing for the family. But really what I was doing was providing for my insecurities because it didn't feel safe anywhere. Can say it now because I realized that when I look at my wife, I'm saying this house is protected by Irene Rollins. When she looks at me, she's saying this house is protected by Jimmy Rollins. You, watch this now, you are the blueprint of your spouse's purpose and destiny. That's the way God did it. And so me and Irene were in counseling 8 years ago because she really needed to get better at this marriage thing, you know? And we went to this week intensive counseling, like a week, y'all. I'm talking like 8 hours a day. Like, I got ADD. I'm sitting in counseling like, and this guy's talking, I'm paying for it. And it was like 10 grand. And I'm like, I don't even know if this marriage is worth 10 grand. I was ready to quit. I'm not gonna lie to you. And we start counseling. I'm emotional. I'm crying, and I'm like, oh my God, this is working. Stop it. Stop crying. Stop crying. You're a man. You're a man. Your dad. Don't you cry. Don't. And the counselor said the enemy is after your marriage. And after we started talking, like all week, I found out This is like 15 years into our marriage. My wife had been sexually abused. My wife had been physically abused. And I'm sitting there like, why she didn't tell me? Because I never provided a safe enough place for her too. Yeah. Maybe it was God's protection because of my anger issues. And we got to talking, and the counselor's like, I'm like, why isn't she talking? Like she doesn't share, she doesn't talk, she doesn't communicate. And here I am like the communicator. I get paid. I travel the world to communicate. I can't talk to the one I lay next to every night. I can preach to thousands and can't talk to the one, I can't get her. And the counselor says, because you don't know how to create a safe enough space. And she said, Jimmy, picture this bird cage. I'm picturing the bird cage. You want the bird to come out of the cage and walk on your hand. Put your hand out. I put my hand out. I'm like, I'm paying for this. Come on. I'm paying to be an illustration to this guy, you know? I put my hand out, and she goes, you don't do this. You got your hand all in the cage. Talk. Have sex with me. Be real. Love me. Give me affection. And feathers are flying everywhere. You're so loud. That's what he says. You're so big. You're so bold. You don't know how to say. Just hold your hand out and wait until she feels that it's safe enough, that she's protected. So she's sitting on a stool like this. Just imagine if this was a stool. Oh, Jesus. He turned water into wine. I'm joking, y'all. Check. It's my big old butt. And he says, I want you to try something. I said, what? He said, get on the floor. So I get on the floor. I was like, what do I do now? He says, listen. I'm listening. She starts talking. She says, every time he's higher than me, I see my abuser. The verbal abuse from childhood. But every time you get lower than her, you become the blueprint to her healing. I was like, so you want me to get low like this? He's like, yeah. Now tell her how you feel. I was like, I can't stand you. Is that better? He's like, no, it's not about your feelings right now. You're serving her. And you know what, guys? Over time, practice didn't come perfection. It became purposeful. And as I got lower, I realized that I get to help bring her out of the reality of the past into a new reality of the present. Because I was willing to get lower than her and serve her. And what we didn't realize is doing the dance was really the enemy's job was to make us not talk. So I couldn't redeem what God wanted to redeem. I became a part of God's plan. I want you to look at your spouse real quick. If you're married, look at your spouse real quick. I want you to say this. Say you. Actually, no. Say I am a part of God's plan for your healing, for your restoration, and for your redemption. Say, I love you, girl. Come on. Kiss him. Come on, kiss him right in the mouth. Just safety. Safety. You know what I do now? Because I realize how I respond to Irene. I'll never forget, we were. I'm almost done. We were fighting. And this was after counseling. This is like after Irene's sober. This is like we got in an argument. And guess what the argument was? I was dealing with my anger issue. I had no idea. The dog pooped in the house. I don't do that. Black people don't do that, y'all. So I get mad. I don't even want the dog in the house at that time. I'm just keeping it 100. But Irene is biracial, so she's in conflict with herself. She don't know whether she want green bean casserole or greens and ham hocks. Like, it's like back. Some of y'all like, should I laugh? It's okay. It's okay. And so, what was I saying? I don't even remember what I was saying. The dog pooped. And I yelled, what are you? And I tried to get the dog and I broke the glass table. Irene goes in the corner in the fetal position. I'm talking about the fetal position. And in that moment, I could have showed, I wanted to say this. This is what I would have said before. What are you fussing? I'm just after the dog and it ain't even about. I didn't. Because we had talked. And I remembered in that moment that even though it wasn't towards her, yelling in loudness puts her back into the child that was abused. So in that moment, I served her. I didn't physically get lower. I just put her needs before mine. Can you put your needs before your spouse's needs before yours? Can you put your husband's needs before yours? Can you put your wife's needs before yours? Because you begin to serve them and you create a safe place. So now that we leverage our strengths and weaknesses and we create a safe place, and now Pastor, what do? We have to communicate effectively, not emotionally. How many of y'all communicate emotionally? Come on, somebody, come on. Emotionally, it's either crying or yelling. When we first got married, my wife would cry, go in the closet and shut the door. I'm like, are you getting shoes? Like, what's going on? Like, because my family was used to talking. Everybody called us the Black Italians. Because we'd be like, at Thanksgiving, we're not arguing. We just loud. All of us. And here's a little Irene. Just all quiet and meek and soft. And I used to think weak. She wasn't weak, she was meek, which is strength under control. God put her in my life to teach me how to have strength under control. We just couldn't talk. And so I realized something. We don't know how to talk. So I want to give you something very practical, and then we're done. I'm going to teach you how to have a good fight. Are y'all ready? Here's number one. You're going to pick the time and place. So here's what we're going to do. One day a week for 30 minutes is the only time you can talk about hard stuff. That's what Irene and I did. The counselor was like, the problem is y'all suck at having fun because you're always tense. So what I want you to do, this is real. I couldn't believe it. It worked. Like, we're still together. I still kind of like her, y'all. It's pretty cool. She puts up with all this. This is a lot to put up with. I'm emotional. So we started, only could talk about hard stuff on Fridays at 11 a.m. from 11 to 11:30. So if we got if something came up on Saturday, I would have to wait all the way until Friday. And what happened is on Thursday, the night before, we would submit each other's list. I'm telling you, it works. Because when you write it down on Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, and you go back to look at your list, you'll realize you're an idiot. I'm telling you right now, I'm stupid. I'm 4 years old. Try it. Because then you're not arguing about stupid stuff. Because you start marking stuff off the list that you thought was important. You're like, I'm 3. It works, guys. So we're gonna pick the time and place. Here's the second one. The counselor told us. Are y'all ready? I got 30 seconds. I'm black, so I'm gonna go over. Black preachers, we go over. That was just my introduction. I just wrote a book on diversity, so I'm like mixing it in. It's pretty, yeah. So now, no matter how you're gonna start the conversation, are you ready? You have to share an appreciation. You got another list that starts on Saturday. You're writing down stuff that you love about your spouse, and you can only write something that you want to talk about if you write something that you appreciate. So you start looking for stuff to appreciate, so you stop looking to keep score. So this was real. It worked. I couldn't believe it. Like, I couldn't believe, Pastor, I couldn't believe it worked because I was like gone. My mom was all jacked up. I was like, I'm going to just get me another wife. If you haven't listened to our story or read Irene's book, what I'm saying is true. We were done. And we started doing this. And so I'd be mad. We'd be in counseling. We had to wait to do some of this stuff in counseling. I was so mad. I couldn't wait to get the counselor to talk about this. And the counselor was like, share appreciation. I'm like, nope. And I started to say, man, I love how Irene takes care of every detail in our house. I love how when I'm sick, she knows exactly what to give me. I'm talking like, I got prescription. I don't even know how to refill a prescription. I'm like, what numbers do I call? What do I give? What's RX? What does that stand for? But I just noticed how I love, and I would just say stuff, I love how she pays attention to detail. I love how she covers my weaknesses. And it turned into, I love her smile. I love getting up in the morning and walking out. And every single day for the last 7 years, 3 months, and 5 days that she's been sober, every single day she's doing her devotions, modeling to me. You'd be amazed what you notice when you stop being 3. So good. It's true. That's all I'm going to give you for that. Because why? Are you ready? This is what our rule is in our house. Still today. Still today. Compliment before you criticize. So, as a man, I can't take feeling like I'm not good, feeling like I haven't been successful. So tell me that I'm a big deal before you tell me what I need to work on. It's generationally. My dad's the same way. And my mom has this idea, Buck, you're amazing. My dad's nickname is Buck. Like, that was an amazing message. And oh, you did so good when they were pastoring the church and I was watching them. And that was absolutely great. But can you just, when you're talking, like, presence me? Compliment before you criticize. Every man here wants that. Like, even, like, when it's time. Tell me what I'm doing good before you tell me what you want. It's true. Let me feel like Tarzan. Because that's the enemy knows. And the last one, I'm out of your way. Are you ready? Can y'all stand? If you were with your spouse, I want you to grab both hands. Come on, face each other. Some of y'all, you haven't done this in a long time. Right? Now, put your arms around them. And look at me real quick. Some of y'all are like, can we make out right now? Right? Are you ready, DJ? Don't allow the first dance to be the last dance. It is impossible to fight while you're dancing. So go ahead and dance. And I sure hope you do. Come on, dance. Some of y'all like, I don't know how to dance. Just sway, grab and sway. No butt in church. No rear end. I'm gonna give you one more assignment. You can lower it because y'all gotta dance out in the lobby. I want you to dance once a week. Can you do that? Come on, DJ, you wasn't supposed to turn it off. I want you to dance once a week. Because here's the deal. So many excuses why you can't do date night. Dance night only costs you your pride. Am I right? And some of you were just affectionate. You haven't just been affectionate for a while. I'm believing that your best days of your marriage, why y'all sit down? I ain't say sit down. That's like I'm at my ending. This is supposed to be my point. This is supposed to be like, drive it home, Jimmy. Like, you're supposed to be like, yeah, give us more. Here's what I'm saying, guys. Are y'all ready? It's not that serious. Your issue ain't that serious. Don't let the enemy use you to be three. It's true, guys. It's not a big deal. I want you to dance once a week and go on date night. And tonight, make it a good night. Let me pray for you. Father, I pray for everyone in this room. And I pray, God, that our best days are ahead of us and our worst days are behind us. Father, I pray, God, that you repair the breach in our marriages. Father, that our grace and our safety would be a bridge for one another. That we would look at our spouse and say, this house is protected by my wife. This house is protected by my husband. This house is protected by a marriage of laughter, love, and longevity. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys.